how do we get to that point of not over preparing but being open to the situation?
Did you see my videos from about a year or so ago, a year and a half ago, which had the little I ripped a bit from The Wrong Trousers with Gromit?
No, I haven't
No,
seen those
okay.
yet.
Well, the what you just said is very much along the lines of what I was talking about. That on the one hand, if we go to sort of the intuitive continuity zone, then you have no real prep or very little, but you're always in control. You're sort of got your improv mastery just ahead of the players. You're in control.
Yeah,
Whereas on the other, so these are kind of two extremes. The other
right.
is to say quite a bit of prep, and it's very hard prep. Once you've prepped it, you kind of feel some urge to honor it as a game master, right? It's
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
hard prep, but and instead of control, what you have is readiness,
Yes.
readiness to
That's a great
do,
way to put it.
readiness.
Yeah.
The things you have at your disposal to use in that situation, you do.
Right.
Um, and so the that means that you have them act with the things that you are playing. They act, and
Yeah.
this is actually pretty central to playing sorcerer. And I remember over the years, 2 decades ago, any number of
Right.
people really having to learn this from the ground up. The idea
Yeah.
is that you do have this solid prep, but it's not plot prep.
No,
But
which
what
is
kind of
different.
prep is it? It has to be, for lack of a better word, pregnant prep, right? It's
Mhm.
high potential. It's
Yes.
act. The pieces are going to move once we start playing. They're not. It's not. So it's different from stocking a dungeon, which in many cases, not all, but most cases, is fairly static.
Yes. Yes, it is. Right.
And so it's not like that because now we're talking about you've got hard prep, but the things you've prepped aren't events, they are mobile
Yes.
entities.
Right. Yeah.
And so and can respond. They could change their minds. They could, be somewhere else than where you start with them and so forth in term because they went there. And
Yeah. Right.
so it's that so with those so as you can see, we're clearly talking about prep and system at the same time.
Yes.
They're
Right.
they're they're inextricable, I think.
Right.
And the idea is okay, what then? You see, prep, yes, but prep of events, even some events, what I call bangs, events, right? There are
Yeah.
things that somebody is pretty primed to do. And they might
Correct.
even arise de novo in the middle of the session based on what's happened. But some of them are ready to go pretty much from the beginning of the session, and you know about them. These are
Right.
things that people or things are primed to do. And, absent something else, are probably going to get right to it. And so
Correct.
the idea though is how do you explain that even with prepped events that you are not prepping literal sequential caused plot? Right,
Right.
you're not
Yeah.
you've not put in anything like the well she won't talk until near the end of the session when she will. You don't have
Right.
anything like that, a timed notion of okay, at this point in the session for maximum fun I'm going to put this in now.
Or even,
And
uh, or even too much. If you say the right thing,
right,
it triggers.
it's really painful to
Sometimes.
play with players who have been trained to do that because they have this kind of tentative, edgy, probing way of talking to NPCs to
Yes.
sort of
Yes.
feel out where they should go with this NPC.
Uh, it's
And
very much that video game
yeah,
mentality.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I love the video games where you can make the choices, but that's because of the medium involved.
right,
Uh,
right,
don't like, oh, I asked them about their mother, and
right.
okay, well, I asked them about their cow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, I asked them about
The weather,
it's like,
right? Yeah, I just
whether,
keep, yeah, exactly, and that kind of thing, again, relies very heavily on the notion of static prep there, and you just have to keep poking at it. So anyway, it's these variables. I'm not sure we're necessarily hitting upon a conclusion so much as shaping the parameters of the question.
Right.
I
Yes.
know that for every game I've designed, that what everybody comes to the table with and what's known, what isn't known, what elements of solid elements are going to be made during play, if any,
Right.
and also which, um, how am I going to put this? Where do you get the things that may or may not matter, that may or may not crop up?
Well,
And
wait, if we're talking circle of hands, for instance, what situations matter in circle of hands? Yes, you can go down to the stream and fish, but and that's fine, but that doesn't matter to circle of hands. The game doesn't care that you're going to go fish,
right,
or
possibly,
the system, I should say. The
right.
system doesn't really care that you want to go fish.
Partly, I think another way of looking at it is that in Circle of Hands, I took a great deal of effort not to front load what was going to catch fire.
Right.
And a really good example is the recent game that was written about, where pretty much out of the blue, somebody playing a character and the game master sort of blinked and said, well, given where we are, your key event probably happened around here. And
Right.
so therefore the character was sort of given more information about the location than other players were given in just in
Right.
casual talk during play, because
Yeah.
it's you know this, you know that. And then
Yes.
also that led to incorporating a non-player character into the history of that key event. And they
Right.
did it in a really nice way. I mean, they didn't create a relationship like this character was your lover, or this character is your grandmother, or something like that.
Right.
But rather, it was more of this character, the people were present at those events in your key event. This person was
Yes.
present and
Right.
has an opinion. And so it was
Yes.
completely plausible. There was not even a bit of shoehorning the player into a relationship with this person where they sort of had to suddenly stitch together a big backstory about it.
Right.
Instead,
Exactly.
it's like, well, of course you would meet somebody who was there and has an opinion.
Right. Because
Right.
that it happened around here. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it worked really, really well and turned out to be huge. The character had been played by multiple players,
Right.
and had often been a huge troublemaker, low charm wizard, right? Just
Right.
just the god damn it, what is he doing now? Sort of
Yeah.
character. And the player this time was not the person who had originated the character and therefore had not written the key event. So their
Okay.
willingness
Okay.
and their enjoyment, because they took off, they started playing the character like much more deeply than anyone had played the character before. And
Right.
and this was a big deal. This to me is part of what Circle of Hands is about. The sharing of player characters, the sense of who made this happen, and everybody kind of looks and thinks back over the last ventures and says, we all did.
Yes.
Even if I didn't have a character in the scene at the moment, I played that guy 2 sessions ago.
Yeah.
And so the way
And
you're playing him now actually is drawing upon that. And like we see some depth in the guy after all. Okay, I get it, right? And yet, did I put that in the rules? And the answer is profoundly no. That's
yeah.
only one of several very deliberate places where I put stuff that is supposed to only manifest after multiple play of a character.
Right. Yes.
And
Right.
that's and to me, that's when people say, well, we're going to play Circle of Hands, but I'm real uncomfortable with that character trading thing. We're not going to do that. And I kind of go, oh, well, there's a whole bunch of Easter eggs in that system. Not Easter eggs. Easter eggs are fabrications made by somebody, right, for you to open and see what you put in there. That's not what I mean. There are plenty of potential remarkable emergent, effects that, people will say, well, wait a minute, except pending pretty extreme bad luck, we're not going to fail in these ventures.
Right.
And we're, I don't get it. They say, I don't get it. We go and I don't get it. What do we do? And,
Yes.
And that's often a kind of, especially if people have a mission based
Right.
training, or especially if they have a sense of, well, we're going to show up and we're a black ops squad, right? We're going to hit this town.
Right.
And we're gonna it's dogs in the vineyard. We're gonna find out the dark secret,
Yes. Right.
And
Right.
so we're gonna redeem this place. And so I found, I'm not complaining about lots of people. I'm noting sort of initial responses, because now, with the game being played so much all at once by different groups, I'm finally seeing different groups come to different kinds of emergence of what their game is about.
Right.
And it's been very heartening, right? For a while, Vincent has talked about this, and I completely sympathize. There, you can go through a spot regarding a particular game where you just want to say, all right, screw you all. You can't play this anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
I've
I
had
understand
it.
that.
You guys are all idiots. You can't
Right.
you can't have this game anymore. I'm taking it away and giving it to some other people in some other dimension who have some idea of what they're doing. And you can get very cranky about this for a little while. And so it was really nice to not feel that way, about to see this with Circle of Hands. Now, so what is it like for a game like, let's contrast. I blithered a lot the last time we talked about that RuneQuest thing, but I got myself all distracted. What I really was trying to get at was that I was playing situations first and coming up with just enough metaphysics and backstory and location and geography for that situation to work.
Right.
Then discovering very quickly, only 3 sessions in, that I had a nice solid 15-page wad of setting.
Yes. Right.
And
exactly.
And much more so than we thought.